Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Week 8 is upon us. We got 5 games to talk about. 5 games to talk about. So let's not waste any more time because we got to give these games a lot of their shine and a lot of their time. So, intro over. Let's go with Green Bay and Fishers. All right, so game number 1 in week 8. Starting us off, we are having another staggered start weekend like we do practically every weekend, but we're starting it at 5 p.m. Eastern time for our kickoff on Yahoo Sports. Game of the week part 1 with game of the week part 2 Electric Boogaloo going on a Sunday. But game of the week part 1, Green Bay and Fishers. Now, one of these teams is going to be 6-1 by the end of the week. That is insane to think about. Because at this point in time, I figure there might be a loss or two with these teams. I figure, and again, people can say what they want. I doubt Green Bay a lot. I didn't think that they'd be 5-1. I thought they'd have 2 losses, potentially 3 losses by this point in time. I still have Fishers as the number 1 seed up to this point. Their expectations are right there. But Green Bay, proving me wrong, like they've done the last 2 or 3 years, they have a good chance to go 6-1 right now. Fishers has the same way too. You look at their home and away records here: 1-1 for Green Bay, 3-0 at home for Fishers. You lean a little bit towards that home side if you're looking just based on those numbers, but it's not just based on those numbers. We've got plenty of numbers to talk about. Let's take a look at our season leaders here on the left side here. Liam Thompson, 63 of 105, 829 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Think about this. We're 8 weeks into the season. Liam Thompson, who literally started 1 game last year, it was kind of a mop-up game with the playoffs clinched and everything. He's thrown one interception so far this season. That is insane. Felix Harper, 53 of 70. So Liam Thompson almost has more the same amount of completions as Harper does attempts. That shows you that Fishers is really relying on running the ball. 540 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not bad when you consider what Fishers does. Liam Thompson, 56 rushing attempts, 201 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns. And Felix Harper, 72 attempts, 299 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. I think Felix Harper is the leading rusher in terms of yards in the indoor football league. Wide receivers not to be outdone, though. Drayshawn Hudson, 19 catches, 296 yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. And CJ Wyndham, 16 catches, 173 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. So again, offense aplenty for both of these teams. One team a little more balanced. Another team, dare I say, trying to get more balanced, but we know Fishers is going to be a run-first offense. They did throw the ball a little bit last week against Iowa, but still, we know what they're going to do when it comes to running the ball. Taking a look at our injury report right here, we've got a big name. We've got a big name for Green Bay that is injured. It is Sean Mustin, big boy up front. He is put on the short-term injured reserve, so he is out this week and potentially next week as well. So that is a big blow, and that's going to be something we talk about as we go to the 25-man rosters and our bet and prediction and everything like that. Fishers, it's been kind of the same players the last couple of weeks here with those 3 guys. Green Bay, yeah, Giovanni Waller as well. I forgot to mention him. He's put on season injured reserve, so that is a little bit of a blow to that secondary, but not nearly as bad as losing Sean Mustin up front. So we'll see who replaces him. Taking a look at our game odds on the right side here. It's a 4.5-point favorite for the Freight with an over-under of 92. So Vegas, the casino, is looking at points for this one. Defense optional here. Plus 154 for the Blizzard and minus 185 for Fishers at home. It should be a close game. Vegas is kind of predicting that, and just kind of see how it goes. That's foreshadowing for the future. We are at the Fishers Event Center in Fishers, Indiana, a 5 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, as I said earlier, on the Yahoo Sports Network. And our series head-to-head, well, it's 2-1 in favor of Green Bay, with them getting the victory. They've already met one time this season. It was all the way back in Week 2, and that is Fishers' only loss on the year. It's a 51-42 victory in favor of Green Bay, and that was a fun game. And I remember watching this game in the back of an Uber after I left the Quad City and Iowa game, which, that's another game we'll talk about in a minute. But watching that game on Yahoo earlier in the year and just thinking to myself, like, I hope this Uber driver does not judge me while I'm watching this in the back, listening to it and stuff like that. So overall, I mean, Green Bay came out, they didn't embarrass Fishers by any means, but they came out hot, man. They they came out hot, and then obviously the week after beating Vegas and doing all of that, I don't know. And that was after Fishers kind of dismantled Quad City to start the season too. So we'll see if there's any revenge played into this one. But we need to go take a look at our 25-man rosters. We need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction. Still 4 previews to do after this. Alrighty, we need to take a look at our 25-man rosters as they are on the screen. Talk about some kind of things that, we talk about the Sean Mustin injury, so we're going to see who's going to replace him and everything like that. But starting with the away side first, as we do, Cole Stenstrom, Liam Thompson are your quarterbacks. Thompson's going to get the start with Stenstrom backing him up. DeMylan Brown most likely going to be your starting running back, with Kyrie Robinson being your backup with that. He has suited up the last couple of games, so that's good. Wide receivers include Drayshawn Hudson, Trayvon Alexander, Isaac Ross, Terrell Carey, and Jack Studer. Trayvon Alexander didn't play last week. I don't think he suited up, so whether that's just a one-game breather or seeing what the other wide receivers have to offer, still kind of worked out for him, so can't really complain about that. We'll see if he draws himself back into the fray for this one and how it kind of goes with that wide receiving core. Offensive line, Delvin Salter, Jamie Navarro, Dakota White, and Andrew Carter. Andrew Carter comes off of short-term injured reserve just in the nick of time here, as that is going to be a huge boost to that offensive line. Now, that's not to say that Green Bay's offensive line was getting pushed around or anything, but at the same time, adding more of your veteran presence to a very veteran Fishers squad on the other side, it does help your offensive line a lot. So we'll see how that kind of goes with Green Bay. Defensive line here, and again, the Sean Mustin injury, as I've alluded to multiple times, we'll see who kind of takes his place, but it includes Tavon Grant, Jonathan Ross, Allen Henry, and Jaquan Griffin. So what has normally been them suiting up 5 defensive linemen, we'll see them suiting up 4 defensive linemen. One of those 2 between Henry and Griffin is going to get the start. Personally, my money is probably on Allen Henry, being more of the veteran presence, because we know Grant and Ross are most likely going to be your starters if they've been starting multiple games this year. So my money is going to be on Allen Henry to get that start, with Jaquan Griffin getting in there to kind of be your super sub and give guys breathers. Linebackers include Brian Lee and Brian Horn. I think Brian Lee is going to get the start, with Brian Horn either backing him up, playing some special teams, doing all of that kind of stuff. Could be wrong, though, but we'll see. And in the secondary, we've got Marcus Hillman, which I believe is a new signing, Dorian Davis, who's coming off of short-term injured reserve, Frankie West Jr., DeAndre Glover, and Najee Snyder. So a little bit of a, I wouldn't say cobbled together, but, a revamped secondary for Green Bay, with Dorian Davis coming back from injury and obviously having, Giovanni Waller going on season injured reserve. That is a blow to that secondary, but they do get some reinforcements with Davis. Adding Marcus Hillman, we'll see how that kind of goes along with it. But we also kind of know that Fishers likes to run the ball too. So what that could encase, could it help the secondary, could it hurt it? We're just not sure. Your kicker is Andrew Mevis, and that's your 25-man roster for your Green Bay Blizzard. Let's take a look at our 25-man roster for our Fishers Freight. Felix Harper is your starting quarterback, with Dominic Roberto and Josiah King being your running backs. And I'm not sure if Josiah King is back this week or if he's going to be another week off or anything like that. I've heard from the broadcasts and the stuff from previous games that Josiah King has been out for a couple of weeks. I think he should be back. If not, Roberto's going to get yet another bulk of the carries. If he already doesn't in this game, we'll just kind of see. Wide receivers include J.T. Stokes, Isaiah Coulter, C.J. Wyndham, Jalen Green, and Jordan Davis. I don't know if we'll see all 5 of these guys, or if we do, we'll see how it kind of goes if Jordan Davis suits up to be your quasi-backup quarterback, but your starters most likely Stokes, Coulter, Wyndham. We'll see Green and Davis if they both suit up or not. Your offensive lineman is Kerry Reynolds, LaQuinston Sharp, Daryl Simmons, Jeremiah Rogers, and Navon Donaldson. And just in the last couple of games, maybe the entire season, it's been Sharp, Simmons, and Donaldson as your starters, with Reynolds and Jeremiah Rogers kind of being your super subs, guys going out there on, extra points, things along those lines to help out with, a meteor offensive line when they need that, and sometimes getting up there in the goal line situations if they absolutely have to. We'll see how it kind of goes with that. To the defensive line, we go for Fishers, Jalen Swan, Leon Smalls, Bryce Bass, or Bass, however it's pronounced, Darius Long, and James Wright IV. If things stay status quo, it's going to be Swan, Smalls, and Long, and then Bass, Bass, or Wright IV are going to be your super subs. I don't know if they'll suit up all 5. They might suit up with 4. Just curious to see how they go with it. Linebackers include Cornelius Montgomery and Marcus Gray. Look for Marcus Gray to drop back into the secondary with Donnie Lewis, CJ Parrish, Kadarius Smith, and Devin Williams. So Marcus Gray most likely going to get the start in the secondary, I believe, alongside Lewis, Parrish, and Devin Williams, with Kadarius Smith being your sub. Your kicker for Fishers is Callum Sutherland, and that is your 25-man roster for your Fishers Freight. That is your 25-man roster for your Green Bay Blizzard, and with that, we need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction, and then we've got 4 more previews after this. All right. We need to take a look at our bet and our prediction. This game is close to me, as it obviously shows on the betting odds and everything like that, but I don't know if I trust the spread, so we're going to go minus 185 for Fishers. It's mainly the revenge factor. Now, with this, I can clearly see Green Bay winning this one. They can come in here to Fishers, but there's just something about the revenge factor. There's something about them being at home. There's something about them just winning their they've won every single game since their loss to Green Bay all the way back in week 2. So they've won 4 in a row, because they beat Quad City, lost their game, and then they've won 4 in a row. Now, Green Bay, within their own right, like I said, can win this game. I think it's going to come down to some of the most obvious things. Can you stop Fishers' run game in the 3-headed running attack if they do get Josiah King back in this? I'm not sure. And now that we've added the little bit of wrinkle that Fishers is actually going to try and throw it a little bit, again, they have been throwing it, but the way that they kind of looked a little bit against Iowa, and yes, caveat, it's Iowa, but at the same time, JT Stokes looked good. CJ Wyndham looked good. Isaiah Coulter looked good. So you can't forget about the passing game, because it is sneakily pretty good for Fishers. They just know their bread is buttered with the running game. I do think also a thing that points it into Fishers' favor, who takes Sean Mustin's spot. And again, I know I've said it throughout this entire preview, but it is a big thing. It's not going to be the thing that determines this game. But adding someone there who has just had to get first team reps this week, who hasn't really gotten one or any in a while, we'll see if that offensive line can, I wouldn't say bully, because you still have Tavon Grant and Jonathan Ross, and maybe I'm putting a little too much into it. I get that. But I think that offensive line is going to be better off not having Sean Mustin on the other side than they would have been having him in. Makes sense, right? So I think all of that can kind of factor. I think another thing that can factor too is, what is Green Bay going to do if this defense gets going? And what I mean by that is Cornelius Montgomery has been kind of a force since he's been signed. Putting Marcus Gray into the secondary has helped them out. Now, yes, they've given up some points. They've given up some yards, especially to Tulsa and Arizona and everything like that. So that's not to say that Fishers is going to lock you down, but is Fishers going to give, or are you going to have enough plays on that Fishers defense to get enough stops for Green Bay? That's the biggest thing. If Green Bay is going to, and I think I said that wrong, what I'm trying to say is, can Fishers shut down Green Bay enough to get enough stops? I think I said that correctly that time. That is going to be the key for me. Can Green Bay not rely on Andrew Mevis to make field goals? Can you go out there and get those touchdowns? I think that's what it's going to boil down to. Because we know Fishers can score points. And we know that Green Bay's defense can go through. They could potentially lock down Fishers, because we know they're not one-dimensional, but you know what I mean. They can go through it. My prediction for this one, 49-45 in favor of the Freight. It's close. If you really want to go for it, that covers the spread for Green Bay by half a point. I don't know which way this can go. Because if you asked me and you said, hey, do you think Fishers can win by 10? They can, but I don't see it. Can you see Green Bay winning by 10? I can, but I don't see it. I see this being a field goal game or just thereabout. I think Vegas, the casino, has this exactly right at -4.5, because I think Fishers can win by a field goal. I also think Green Bay can win by a field goal, and that is a swing of roughly 6 points, give or take. So I do think that there can be points scored in this one. It is right up there to that 92.5. So like I said, I've got 94 points. That over's barely hitting, but I am seeing some points in this one as well. We'll see how it kind of goes, because God forbid these defenses could lock each other down. We have a low-scoring game, but if the previous meeting is any indication, and how these offenses have played against the other opponents that they've already played, I think the offenses are going to be in for a little bit of a treat here. But it is truly a clash of the Titans. I like with what Fishers has been able to accomplish, because we've seen, previews of it last season that didn't really turn out. They've honed those skills. It's looked good. Green Bay, kind of the same thing. We saw what they were last year, and even with a new quarterback this year, Liam Thompson has fit right into that offense. And whatever rushing attack that they had last year, it hasn't been the same this year, but they haven't necessarily needed to rely on it. There's no Kaimani Clark and Jalen Cagle here to bail you out, but Demylon Brown has been a nice fit ever since Sal Malignaggi got hurt. So I do want to see a little bit more out of the rushing game because Liam Thompson is kind of your main rusher in that regard. But at the same time, if you can get Demylon Brown or even Kyrie Robinson more introduced into this game so you don't have to always rely on Liam Thompson, that should be good as well. We know Drayshawn Hudson's going to be good for him. We know if Trayvon Alexander suits up, he's going to be good for him. And obviously whatever wide receivers they choose to on the Fisher side, depending on how that goes in the passing game, offense aplenty in this one. So that's where we have it with this, 49-45 in favor of Fishers, with them on the money line at minus 185. So let's go take a look at preview number 2. All right, so we need to talk preview number 2. This, again, just like week 2 with Green Bay and Fishers, we head back to a week 2 rematch between two cross-state, quote-unquote. So no, Quad City plays in Moline, but Quad City does include 2 cities in Iowa. So there we go. Anyway, splitting hairs here. We got a 6 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on overnight. The 2-4 Quad City Steamwheelers taking on the 0-5 Iowa Barnstormers. This one could be fun. We've got an 0-3 on the road Steamwheeler team versus an 0-2 at home Barnstormer team. Something's got to give. So someone's either going to get their first win on the road or someone's going to get their first win at home. So we'll see how it kind of goes from there. But again, these two teams met earlier in the year. It's almost identical teams except for a couple of pieces on the Iowa side, which we'll get to in the future. But for right now, this is a game that both teams kind of need. Because when you think about it, Iowa, and I'm going to wax a little poetic on Iowa right now. If Iowa wins this game, and I'm not saying it's going to springboard them or anything, you beat a rival, you drop Quad City to 2-5, and you yourselves are 1-5, which means you're half a game out from what would be the 5th spot in the East, which means you're not out of the realm of possibilities of potentially going into a playoff hunt. But you still need some more help when it comes to the top 4 seeds if those guys are going to keep winning. So again, it puts yourself in a better position, but depending on what happens with Tulsa and then you beat Quad City, like there is a realm where Iowa could potentially be in a good spot with that. Quad City absolutely needs this win to stay in the playoff race. I know we still have a long way to go this season, but to drop to 2-5 after the expectations that a lot of people have, yourselves included, it's not going to be fun, and you might have to touch that panic button and maybe press down on it a little bit. However, if you get to 3-4, that looks a lot better. Granted, 2 of your wins are against Iowa, but that looks a lot better than what 2-5 does. So we'll see how it goes. Over to our season leaders, Daquan Neal, 89 of 150, 1,059 passing yards. He is your leading passer in terms of yardage, and I believe in touchdowns as well. 26 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Ivan Corbin, 20 of 44, 181 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So one thing you can say is even though Iowa is rushing the ball, when they do put the ball into the air, they're not necessarily turning it over too. Now, granted, they haven't thrown a lot of touchdowns either, but that's what you do. Neal and Corbin are your leading rushers as well. Daquan Neal, 47 carries, 229, I almost said 329, that'd be a lot. 229 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns through the ground. And Ivan Corbin, 47 attempts, so the same amount of attempts is funny. 185 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So they have 5 in the last week against Fishers. So he's putting the team on his back and doing what matters most for that. So we'll see how it goes. Leading receivers, Kean Williams, 27 receptions, 384 yards, and 14 receiving touchdowns. He gets to go back to his stomping grounds, man. We'll see how it kind of goes because he played with Iowa last year. Now he's over here to Quad City. Let's see if he wants to play a little bit of revenge and make his former team pay. On the other side, though, Curtis Ravenel, 18 catches, 224 yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. So if there is any semblance of a passing game for Iowa, Ravenel, McKinney, all those guys, we'll talk about them in the 25-man roster. Got to get some of them involved. Taking a look at our injury report, just one guy each, and there's not really much to report on. We've talked about them in multiple episodes and everything to this point, so there we have it. Taking a look at our game odds here, and Quad City is favored by almost 2 touchdowns. So if you want them to score 14 points and win by that amount, you win the bet. It's minus 13.5 for the Steamwheelers, plus 13.5 for the Barnstormers at home, with an over-under of 88.5. Minus 500 for the Steamwheelers if you want them straight up, so you're going to bet quite a bit of money for that. Or if you want the home upset, plus 380, a $10 bet nets you $38 plus your $10 back, so neat. We are at the KC Center in beautiful Des Moines, Iowa, the 6 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, as previously mentioned, and as well previously mentioned on overnight. So, you need the subscription. If you already have it, you can watch it. If you don't, go get your subscription. And our series head-to-head favors the Steamwheelers pretty heavily, 2-to-1 ratio, 10-5. Their last meeting being Quad City getting the victory 46-25, and what started out as a game of, hey, we're going to run the ball for Iowa, turned into now we need to throw it to get behind. But Curtis Ravenel did have quite a game for the Barnstormers. But Harrison Robidoux is not, Rubidoux is not the quarterback in this one. So it's going to be a different Iowa team. We need to go take a look at that 25-man roster, along with our bet and prediction after that. We got 3 more previews to do as well. All right, taking a look at our 25-man rosters on the screen for this game. For the away side first, Daquan Neal and Judd Roberts being your quarterbacks, with Daquan Neal getting the start and Judd Roberts being your backup. As always, your running backs, Jared Ware and Trenton Barnes, with Ware being the starter and Barnes being your special teams / backup. And the wide receivers, it's all kind of self-explanatory. They've kind of run out the same offense and defense for quite a few games now. To the wide receiving room, it's going to be Williams, Rudd, and VC being your starters, with Jalal Dean suiting up. Whether or not he plays, does special teams, gets a breather for some of the guys. We'll see how it kind of goes, but it's kind of status quo with that as well. Change here, no short-term injured reserve for Lionel Whittingham. He did get stretchered off in their last game, but that leads me to believe it's going to be Crowell, Gatling, and Kickle for that offensive line. So Joe Crowell, Edward Gatling, Matthew Kickle being your starters most likely. Lionel Whittingham, if by some miracle and measure he does suit up and play in this one, more power to you, man, but I don't see it. I'm amazed they didn't put him on short-term injured reserve given everything like that. To the defensive line we go. Charles Rosser, David Abelarinwa, Keyshawn Moore, Chimandunga, and Rashawn Williams. We'll see. I think in the last game, Abelarinwa actually played. I can't remember if he actually started or not, but I know Rashawn Williams played. I know Keyshawn Moore played, and I'm pretty sure Charles Rosser played as well, too. So they've been rotating that defensive line like crazy. It's pretty much Keyshawn Moore is your mainstay. And sometimes Charles Rosser gets the start, sometimes Chimandunga, sometimes Rashawn Williams. We'll see how it kind of goes. But for the most part, whoever they put up on that defensive line, they're going to get to attack Ivan Corbin in that rushing game for the Barnstormers. To the linebacker, it's just Alex Harriott, as he's been there for all season, so no change when it comes to that. And then finally into the secondary we go. Jamon Williams, Kevin Ransom, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, David Stevens, and Cameron Harrell. We'll see who they all kind of trot out there in that secondary. David Stevens did play. I can't remember if he started, but if it's what it's normally, Jamon Williams, Kevin Ransom, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, Cameron Harrell. I know that's 5, but I think it's mainly Duncan, Harrell, Ransom, and Williams in some sort. We'll see if Harris suits up. We'll see if Stevens suits up. We'll see how it just kind of goes when it comes to that. Your kicker is Jan Bogdan. Over to the Iowa side of things, Ivan Corbin and Dante Aviles Santos are your quarterbacks. If they're going with a true run, I think they're going to have Corbin be your starter again. If they want to shake things up, it may be Dante Aviles Santos. He did play a little bit last week, albeit some garbage time, dare I say, but I think he did get into the game. To the running backs, David Elder and Anaji Bryant Lele. I liked what Elder brought to the table. We'll see if he brings more to it, or if they go with Bryant Lele, or if they suit both of them up. We'll just kind of see what it pertains to and how they kind of want to go about things when it comes to the running and passing game. Speaking of passing, your wide receivers, DeMonte Martin, Donald McKinney, Joshua Simmons, and Curtis Ravenel. I'm pretty sure all 4 of those guys are going to suit up, as 3 of them are going to start. My money's probably on Ravenel, Simmons, and I would throw McKinney out there, but don't be surprised if Martin starts too. They have kind of rotated a little bit in that regard. Offensive line. Your offensive linemen have been kind of your 3 mainstays, but they did add a couple this past week. So Tyler Castaneda, McLean Doja, Tyrone Chambers, along with Deontay Graham and John McKinney. Now, I believe Doja got hurt at some point. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, and we have seen either Castaneda and Chambers kind of banged up too. So is this more of an insurance policy, or are we going to see these guys start? I'm not sure, because it's kind of been your main 3 for most of the season for the Barnstormers. To the defensive line, we go Ja'Karius Smith, Tyler Tate, Michael Fields, Larman, and Nicholas Orr. I put Orr over here as he is kind of a tweener of offense and defensive line, so he could play offensive line, but I've seen him start on the defensive line and play more defensive line than I have offensive right now. So that doesn't really change too much, as I believe the last starters were Smith, Tate, and Fields, and then Larman did suit up and play as well, and Orr has played. I can't remember if he played last week, but he has played in the past. So they all could suit up if I'm not mistaken. Linebackers, Austin Edmonds, kind of the same thing. No backup, nothing. He's been there the entire season. No changes with that. And in the secondary, Amon-Ross, John Adams Jr., but in this household we call him John Quincy Adams. Get it? Trayvon Pope. That's a horrible joke. Jazeer Merrick's, Richie Coffey round out that secondary. John Adams, man. It's just a fun name. Respect my president. Kicker is Jonah Edwards. And in that secondary, we'll see who all kind of starts with it. 5 guys, 4 are going to suit up. We'll see how it goes. My money's probably on Ross, Adams Jr., Pope, and Coffey. Merrick's has suited up in the past as well, so we'll go from there. Anyway, your kicker is Jonah Edwards. That's your 25-man roster for your Iowa Barnstormers. That's your 25-man roster for your Quad City Steamwheelers. With that, we need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction. We have 3 more previews to go after this. All right, we need to talk bet and prediction. I'm going out on a limb on this one. I'm going to go under 88.5. And the reason why is because Iowa is going to look to slow this game down with the running game. I don't know if Quad City is going to run the ball, but they will throw it. And if the prior game is any indication, the under hit in that one. I don't really have a basis on this one. The over could easily hit if both offenses start going. When you look at what happened last week with Iowa and Fishers, Fishers and Quad City are not on that level, but Fishers did have quite a few touchdowns and stuff like that in that fourth quarter that allowed them to not just cover that spread, but kind of hit that 80, 90 point threshold. I can't remember the score. It was 53 to 32 or something off the top of my head. So that still wouldn't hit this if I'm not mistaken, but it gets pretty close. And that's the reason why if Fisher's scoring 53 doesn't hit that over with an 88.5, I don't know what Quad City's going to do. And I'm not saying that Iowa's underrated by any means or anything. I think they're properly rated. But we know that one team's going to run the ball, and we know that one team's going to kind of throw it more than they run it. We'll see how DeQuan Neal and the running game go, because as far as I'm concerned, the running game is DeQuan Neal and others. There's no one that's really gotten me out of my seat going oh, there's Jared Ware showing. There's the jet sweep to Kevon Rudd or whatever. There's nothing that has excited me about the running game for Quad City. Just like on the other end, there's nothing that's necessarily excited me about the passing game for Iowa. Ravenel's there, but at the same time, it's they haven't really used him since they've kind of switched more towards this offense. He's caught some passes, but it's nothing to the, hey, I'm wide open in the end zone like he had against Quad City in their first meeting. So we'll see how that kind of pertains to itself. But at the same time, it's going to boil down to me. You're replacing an offensive lineman with Lionel Whittingham. What do you want to do on offense? Is it going to be a true revenge game for Keon Williams? How many touchdowns does he go for? Because multiple times throughout the season, you've played 6 games, he's had hat tricks. He's had 3-4 touchdowns in a game. He's had this and that. I mean, to throw it up to him, he's going to catch it. It's damn near automatic. I'm not sure, because that's going to be Iowa's game plan, is to be able to shut him down. So can you rely on other wide receivers, whether it is Kevon Rudd, whether it is Jordan Vesey, because you do have a really good passing attack. What can you do with that? Fishers was able to score 53 running the ball and doing what they did, and they threw it to JT Stokes. They had 10 completion or 10 attempts with 8 completions, and I think 2 or 3 touchdowns last week. So that could bode well if you're going to be passing the ball, because that shows that you can be pretty good if you are Quad City. And on the other end, for Iowa, can you run the ball, and can Quad City's defense shut down that run? Quad City's defense has given up a lot of points, but a lot of those points have come through the air. When you look at Jacksonville, when you look at San Diego, when you look at even Orlando, a lot of those games, it's Thomas Owens for Orlando, it's Jaden Stoshak or Jimmy Robinson for Jacksonville, or it's even Shane Hooks or Dallas Daniels or whoever for San Diego. They're letting the wide receivers get open. So does Iowa change their game plan? That's the reason I mentioned it earlier. Does Iowa change their game plan? Does Dante Avila Santos start and get that going in the passing game to try and beat whatever that secondary is? I'm not sure, because Quad City, for all intents and purposes, has been pretty good at shutting down the run, which could play into their favor in this one. My prediction for this, 48-34 in favor of the Steam Whalers. I do think they get the victory in this one. It's just a little bit more like progress for Iowa. They're not turning into wins, but you're starting to see it. Am I shocked if Iowa wins this? Less shocked than I would be if they beat Fishers or anyone like that, but they were in a one-possession game against the Freight last week. They got it into the fourth quarter to a 6-point trail, and they were there. They're just not quite there yet to me. So I'm picking Quad City in this one. Is there an opportunity for Iowa? Yeah, but they've got to play a perfect game. I'm not going to say that this is their best shot to win a game this season. It's not. But at the same time, you are at home. You are against a rival. And you have proven that you've beaten Quad City at home in the past before. So am I shocked if they win this? Yes, but not nearly as shocked as I would be if they went and beat Fishers at home or something like that, So we'll see. But I've got Quad City. It's, a 15-point victory, so I guess they cover the spread with that too. But I'm going under. Like I said, I think Quad City is going to put up some points. I think Iowa's going to put up some points, but even with that, we're looking at 82. Still kind of gives you a little bit of a buffer for a touchdown without an extra point. So you can have Quad City go up to 50+. Maybe Iowa keeps it close and makes it, 48-41 or 48-40 or whatever. We'll see. But that's where we have it with this one. We've got under 88.5 for our bet. We've got 48-40 in favor of the Steam Whalers. And with that, we need to go take a look at preview number 3. Right, preview number 3. We got a first meeting between these teams, even dating back to what the previous team was. These teams have never met. Granted, Jacksonville has been a part of this for just a couple of seasons, but I spoiled it already. We got a 7 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, and that's the graphic fading in. I try to use cues in my speeches and stuff like that. I screwed this all up. Either way, 7 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on overnight. They got the 1-4 New Mexico Chupacabras taking on the 3-1 Jacksonville Sharks, and both these teams are kind of treading in different directions. Something maybe to give, or maybe we have status quo. Chupacabras are 0-2 on the road, while Jacksonville is 1-0 at home. If the upset does happen, and it will be a big upset, Chupacabras can get their first win on the road, while Jacksonville suffers their first loss. We'll see how that kind of goes as we get to it, but we do need to take a look at our season leaders here. For both sides, we got Jerome Johnson, your leading passer for the Chupacabras, 71 of 119, 729 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Pretty dang good season, being the starter for what it's all worth. He's playing really well. James Cahoon, not to be outdone, though, 48 of 76, 633 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's a really good, really good season for Cahoon. He's not slinging the ball all over like he was last year in Iowa, but he's been very, very accurate, and he's put up some yards as well, too. Taking a look at our rushing leaders for both sides. Jerome Johnson, 29 attempts, 152 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And Jamie Robinson, 48 attempts, 153 yards and 8 rushing touchdowns for him. They have not had to rely on him when it comes to running the ball too much. He has run the ball. He has ran for quite a few yards in multiple games, but for all intents and purposes, it's been a very balanced offense for what Jacksonville has been able to accomplish so far this season. On the other side, your receiving leaders, C.J. Jefferson, 24 receptions, 284 receiving yards, and 7 receiving touchdowns. And Jimmy Robinson, yes, the running back, is your leading receiver right now. 18 catches, 212 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So while the touchdowns are not there, what he has proven in the previous games is he can get open out in the flat, he can do your little wheel routes, he can get open along the sidelines and go out for passes and stuff like that. He can leak up the middle through the offensive line and catch passes that way. Just anything and everything. He's kind of doing it all right now. I think he's also returning kicks and stuff like that too, if I'm not mistaken, but I'd have to go back and look. Regardless, he is playing really well. Jacksonville is as well too. In New Mexico, for all intents and purposes, they are playing well, but some of their stuff is just not translating to points, and their drives, they do have those snap issues and those penalties, but we'll talk about that later on. Take a look at our injury report. Who's kicking the ball? Spoiler alert for the 25-man roster, but Ben Derby, he is on short-term injured reserve, and from the roster I received, they don't have a kicker. definitely talk about that in a minute. And for Jacksonville, Billy Bowens is put on short-term injured reserve. Sorry, my eye is really itchy. So that is an addition to Jacksonville, but I do not believe he has played in the last couple of games or even suited up. They do have a replacement, quote-unquote, signed when it comes to that. We'll talk about that in 1 second. But just a couple of additions to the short-term injured reserve. Taking a look at our game odds here presented by DraftKings, the New Mexico Chupacabras are 18.5-point underdogs. We've already seen spreads like that so far this season, but it's mainly been with Iowa and Fishers. Or maybe Iowa and Green Bay in that regard and a little bit too. But to this 18.5, like I said, we just had one last week with Fishers and Iowa, man. So minus 18.5 at home for the Sharks. Heavy home favorites here, and an over-under of 81.5. So they're saying it's going to be kind of a blowout, but moderate points, dare I say. So we'll see how that goes. Plus 600 if you want the upset on the road for New Mexico, and minus 900 if you want to lay a bunch of money down for a small return for the Sharks at home. Speaking of home, we're at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. As stated earlier, 7 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on overnight. Get your subscription and go watch it or don't. And our series, head-to-head, there isn't one. Not even when New Mexico was Duke City, because at that point in time, they didn't play in that 2024 season when Jacksonville came over. And they haven't played since last year because, well, the Chupacabras did not exist until this year. So this will be the first meeting between the two teams, and we'll see how it kind of goes. And I'll be honest with what we've seen. A quick side note: I'm starting to love the inter-conference. I keep inter and intra always screw me up, but inter-conference showdowns that we're starting to see. Whether it's been Tulsa and Arizona, whether it's been Quad City and San Diego, and now we've got New Mexico and Jacksonville to name a few. So that's really cool. We'll see how this one goes because someone's going to be 1-0. After this game is done. So let's go take a look at those 25-man rosters. Let's go take a look at those bet and predictions, and we will move on after that with preview number 4. All right, taking a look at our 25-man rosters on the screen in front of us here, with the away side first on the left. For the New Mexico Chupacabras, there are 3 quarterbacks. Okay. Harrison Rubidoux has been signed to the New Mexico Chupacabras, which I don't know if they're going to suit all 3 quarterbacks up, but Jerome Johnson is most likely going to be your starter. I'm not sure if Donovan Portieri is going to go play wide receiver, play running back, whatever the case could be, but either way, we have 3 quarterbacks on the roster for New Mexico. I'm curious to see how that will go. Your running backs include LaJames White and Walter Wilbon III. They've normally suited up the last couple of games, with LaJames White being the starter. Wilbon mainly playing special teams. I don't know the last time he got a carry, unless it might have been some garbage time things, but I digress. Your wide receivers include C.J. Jefferson, Damon Street, Isaiah Crocker, and new signee Arthur Jackson III, the former San Diego Strike Force, is over here and hoping to make an impact when it comes to that wide receiving core and add depth and veteran presence to it. So we'll see if he suits up. We'll see if he plays as any sort of offensive firepower that New Mexico can get. I'm sure they will be taking right now, as they only put up 12 points last week. So we'll see. Offensive line, this has been a challenging aspect, but a new signing in Isaiah Silliman, however it's pronounced. I do apologize if I butcher your last name. Along with Daniel Bostic, Jake Sines, and Ryan Franz, which means a couple of guys have been released from last week to this week. We'll see who suits up, when and where, and if this can stop the bad snap issues. Because right now, I think what they had last week with Arthur Chandler, who I don't really speak about guys that got released, but with Chandler being, released after this, we'll see if Franz, Sines, or Bostic, or even Silliman, whoever gets in here, if they can, kind of stop these bad snap issues. To the defensive line, Maurice Jackson, Keandre Hall, Luke Kelly, and Allen Love. I believe your starters on that line are going to be Jackson, Kelly, and Love, but Keandre Hall, I think, has started a game or 2. Again, go Pitt State. I'll always shout out my alma mater. If he does start, if not, he does play a decent role when it comes to being that backup and getting a breather or 2 for some of the guys. Linebackers include Wes Bowers, Marvin Pierre, and Cameron Bright. With this, Cameron Bright has mainly been your starter in the last couple of games. Bowers and Pierre have not even suited up, so we'll see if that changes, or if anything changes when it comes to that linebacking room, because right now for some of these positions, quarterback and linebacker, you only start one, but you got 3 guys, so it remains to be seen. And in the secondary, Jacius Clark, Gleason Sprewell, Greg Dent Jr., Tycorian Brown, and Jared Sod. 4 of those guys are going to start. I believe last week it was Clark, Sprewell, Dent, and Brown, with Sod, I believe, being your backup. I could be mistaken. Someone else might have been the backup. It might have been Dent, but I think Dent started. Regardless, there's your 5. 4 are going to start. 1's going to be your backup. Your kicker does not exist. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. We talked just a minute ago. I don't know. I don't know if we're just going to do 2-point attempts. I don't know if someone's going to try drop kicks. I don't know if they're going to trot someone out there a la Ethan Castleberry or someone else to try and kick, because someone's got to kick off. I don't know who it's going to be. Unless they've signed an emergency kicker between then and now that we just don't know about, remains to be seen. But we'll see when they kick off. Taking a look at the other side for Jacksonville, James Cahoon and Sammy Edwards being your quarterbacks. Cahoon going to be your starter, but Sammy Edwards has worked his way into the offense in his goal line red zone packages, and maybe even a little bit more than that. He is your running quarterback to Cahoon's passing, and it has worked. You know, the old adage being 2 quarterbacks means you have none. That doesn't apply to Jacksonville right now because both their quarterbacks are playing really well. Running back includes Jimmy Robinson with no backup, so he's the main guy there. And in the wide receiving room, Markel Wade, Jaden Stoshak, Red Douglas, Jalen May, and Anthony Evelyn. Evelyn got signed last week, if I'm not mistaken, and again, with Billy Bowens being on a short-term injured reserve, there's your quote-unquote replacement for him. So 1 guy out, enter a new guy. We'll see if he slots into the game at all, because the stats did say that he did catch a pass last week. I didn't see him on the roster or on the bench or anything, so if he did catch a pass, I must have missed it. So we'll see if he suits up. Offensive line, Baraka Beckett, Dante Lucas, Devin Hayes, and Kenny Furman line it out. So we'll kind of see how it goes with that. It's typical 3 starters with your 1 backup, which I believe it's Lucas, Beckett, and Furman, with Hayes being your backup. We'll see how it goes. To the secondary, to the defensive line first, then we'll get to the secondary. Chris Rice, Devontae Davis, Jalen Williams, and D'Amico Rowland. They rotate guys in and out. Chris Rice, Devontae Davis, and I believe Rowland are your starters, with Jalen Williams being your backup with that. Your linebacker, Isaiah Major. And in the secondary, Clay Fields, John Huggins, Chris Chukwuneke, Dylan Brown, and Aaron Geathers. I believe it's those top 4 that are going to start, with Geathers being a sub. We'll see how it goes with that. The kicker being Marco Roscoe. There's your 25-man roster for your Jacksonville Sharks, 25-man roster for your New Mexico Chupacabras. With that, we need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction for this one as we move on through these previews. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. The other 2 worked earlier this season, so let's see if third time's the charm as well. Minus 18.5 in favor of the Jacksonville Sharks. Look, there have been new signings and stuff like that for New Mexico, which should help them out. Do not get me wrong. But there's just something about this Jacksonville team where they're not peaking at the right time. I don't think they're even peaking. But what they have shown me in the last couple of weeks is this is a team on a mission. This is a team that is willing to just kind of, I wouldn't say destroy the people in front of them, because they only won by 1 last week. But what we've seen with a couple of their games is they look good. And I think this offense has been figured out. The defense is always stout and always good, and you're coming into this game with a team that scored 12 points. I'm going to go out on a limb and say minus 18.5. Now, can New Mexico cover this? Absolutely. You're spotted 18 points to begin the game. We know Jacksonville likes to, they've got a balanced offense, but we do know that they can take some time off the clock. We do know that they can run Jimmy Robinson, and if the game gets out of hand, it could bode badly if you have a backdoor cover. And I understand that. That's the risk we're going to take here. I don't know if the snap issues are fixed. I don't know if the mental issues are fixed, because just because you have released the guys that you think are doing the bad snaps and you've brought in new guys doesn't mean that chemistry is there just yet. And that means those false starts and those timings and everything like that could still be a hindrance to New Mexico. Now, do I think they're going to put up 12 points? No. I think they're going to score some points, even if it is garbage time touchdowns. However, I like Jacksonville's defense. I think it matches up very well for New Mexico's offense, because for Jacksonville's defense, you have a nice secondary to just kind of put that passing game in check. You've got Isaiah Major in that defensive line that could have Jerome Johnson running for his life. And the reason I say that is look at kind of what they did against Quad City just last week, where Daquan Neal did run, and they did run some plays with Jared Ware and stuff like that too, but for the most part, the running game really just didn't exist for either Jacksonville or Quad City. And if Jacksonville can do that against New Mexico and kind of take a page out of what Vegas's playbook was last week, that's not good for for New Mexico's offense. Now, if New Mexico can kind of get into that improvisation, if you can get some good games or some good yards and some good passes and stuff like that to Street, to Crocker, to C.J. Jefferson, even let's say LaMichael James. I always want to say LaMichael James. LaJames White, because he's been catching passes out of the backfield too, and he's been running the ball well as well. If that offense can get going, then yeah, I think they cover the 18.5. However, I'm just not sure. On the flip side, I know Jacksonville's going to score points. They will. How many points do they give up? That's the other thing. And when or if do they take their foot off the gas? New Mexico's defense leaves a little bit to be desired. They have gotten points scored on them, and some of the games that they have played have been against some lesser competition. So yes, they are 1-4. They do have one win, but a couple of the losses have been against Tucson. They've played Northern Arizona. They got destroyed by Vegas. Now you get to play Jacksonville. It's very, very brutal for this team. My prediction for this one, 52-31. You got to have him cover like that. I do think Jacksonville can put up 50. Question is, do they want to? I think New Mexico can put up points. It's just when. Because if we keep having these snap issues, if we keep having these false starts, if we keep doing this, and you do not have a kicker, unless something changes, I'm going into this with, you don't have a kicker. How are you going to kick extra points? How are you going to kick off? How are we going to do this? That is a huge point to the game. Now, if they score 31 points, how do you make those extra points? Which means you're going to have to go for 2. How do you make any sort of deuce attempt? What happens if the game comes down to a deuce? I'm not sure. Because that can happen. I'm not saying it's going to, but it can. How do you do this? I don't know. This roster has been a huge question mark throughout the season for New Mexico, and then sometimes it leaves you scratching your head more than you have the answers. So I'm not sure. So I'm going to go with the team I trust a lot more than what we've seen so far. And then, like I said, the signing with Harrison Rubidoux, it's not a bad signing, but what does that bode well? Jerome Jefferson, I did the Jason Fitz. Jerome Johnson is a dual-threat mobile quarterback. If he goes down for whatever reason, who do you turn to? Because Rubidou's not a mobile quarterback. He can run if he needs to, but do you go with Portieri? I don't know. Are you going to put Rubidoux out there as a wide receiver? I doubt it. So I'm not sure what that signing was for or anything. But regardless, that's a topic for another day. We got minus 18.5 in favor of the Jacksonville Sharks. We got 52-31 for that victory. Let's go take a look at preview number 4. All right, preview number 4. The records don't show it, but these two teams could be very, very evenly matched here. We've got an 8 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on Yahoo Sports, so the second half of our Yahoo Sports doubleheader with this one sees us going back to Tulsa, where the 4-1 San Diego Strikeforce are taking on the 1-3 Tulsa Oilers. Now, like I said, these records don't indicate how good these two teams are, as Tulsa has been on kind of the unlucky end of some losing. Otherwise, some things break their way. They could be 4-0. Now, again, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but at the same time, same thing with San Diego. They've played very, very well, but a couple of their games they've won by some close margins, and there's a chance that they are not 4-1. So, yeah, there's a reason why, and you look there at the screen, why Vegas has this game pretty close. But let's take a look at our leaders of the season for both sides here. For the San Diego side of things, Nate Davis, 92 of 148, 993 yards, 20 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Not to be outdone, though, TJ Edwards, 72 of 117, 818 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So both these guys, they are slinging it. Simple as that. Edward Vander, your leading rusher, 44 attempts, 164 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. And TJ Edwards, your leading rusher, 31 attempts, 100 rushing yards on the dot, which is cool, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Both these wide receivers, though, they're balling. Dallas Daniels, 22 receptions, 261 yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. And Jerminic Smith, 33 catches, 330 yards, and 9 receiving touchdowns. I didn't expect that. I've been so surprised at how well Jerminic Smith has been so far this season. He has been on a tear. But for all intents and purposes, both these teams are passing the ball very, very well. Let's take a look at our injury report. Nothing for San Diego, to our knowledge, and just a couple for Tulsa. Vashawn Bailey, the offensive lineman, and Dylan Petway, the linebacker. So someone's going to be stepping up into that linebacker role this week. We'll see who it is, but those two guys are added to the short-term injured reserve list. Taking a look over here at our game odds presented by DraftKings, San Diego is a 2.5-point underdog. Okay, so Tulsa, 2.5-point favorite at home with an over-under of 88.5. We do know that Tulsa only has one win, right? But that goes to show you that the Oilers being favored at home is not indicative of what their record is. Plus 120 to the money line if you want the away upset, minus 142 for Tulsa at home if you want the Oilers to have the home win and the favorite win with that as well. We are headed back to the beautiful city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. At the BOK Center is our venue of battle. 8 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on the Yahoo Sports Network, as aforementioned. Series head-to-head, though. It does favor San Diego, too, but it's been a while since these two teams have last met. We're going all the way back to 2024 in Week 12 with San Diego taking that victory 42-34. So, for all intents and purposes, this game is very, very important for both sides. One, for Tulsa, if you drop to 1-4, that's not good. In a race in the East that is very, very tight, especially in those 4 seeds, if you drop to 1-4, you are at, and I don't mean this as a joke, but you are at Iowa levels right now. You're just a half a game above Iowa at that point, depending on what happens in their game. For San Diego, you need to win this game to try and keep pace, because if you win this game, you go to 5-1, and you are moving into second place because of what happens on Sunday between Arizona and Vegas, because one of those teams is going to get their second loss. So you want this win to solidify yourself as the number 2 team if you win this game. On the flip side, though, Tulsa winning this one puts them at 2-3. We'll see how that goes. And that drops San Diego to 4-2. We'll talk more about that in detail later on after the rosters when we get into the bet and our prediction segment and all of that stuff. But for right now, that's where we kind of leave it. So let's take a look at those 25-man rosters. Take a look at that bet and prediction. Talk further with that. We got preview number 5 to do. All right, let's take a look at our 25-man rosters. Yeah, our 25-man rosters. I was about to say our 26-man rosters, but 25-man rosters. For the away side, as we do, the quarterbacks, Davis Black and Nate Davis, with Nate Davis being the starter as he's having a pretty damn good season, Davis Black being the backup. Running backs include Edward Vander and Tyrell Green Jr. Green has suited up in the last couple of games. He's even gotten some carries and some touchdowns. So Vander most likely to get the start, but if Green does venture into that offense, we'll see what they have in store for him. Wide receivers include Shane Hooks, Dallas Daniels, Jalen Sample, and Cole Blackman. Cole Blackman has not played in the last couple of games, so it makes me wonder if he's nursing an injury, but they just don't want to put him on short-term injured reserve or something like that. However, Blackman did play with Tulsa last year, so maybe a little bit of a revenge game if he suits up in this one. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise, you're with your 3 amigos, Hooks, Daniels, and Sample, and they've been on a tear practically all season. Offensive line, nothing changes here. Christoph Atkinson, Ivory Scott, and Jalen Booth. No depth, so all 3 are going to give it a go. And on the defensive line, Wallace Cowens, Afanye Maije, Adam Anderson, Rashawn Yates, and new signing Morris Joseph Jr. Former Bay Area Panther goes down the coast to San Diego to add more depth to that defensive line. We'll see if he gets slotted in there at all, but I think that means that all of the defensive line from Bay Area from last year is somewhere here. So whether it's here or over in Green Bay or whatever the case could be, it shows you how good Bay Area was. Royce C. is your linebacker. No depth there, so he's going to go. And then in the secondary, Devin Hafford, Herman Smith, William Barber, Trajan Anderson-Watts, Jelani Jefferson, and Elijah Reed. They've plugged and played for a lot of these, but, I mean, your starter's most likely going to be Hafford. I think Smith, Anderson-Watts, I did think he started against Tucson, and maybe even William Barber. I can't honestly remember, but they have suited up all 6 at some points throughout the season. So we'll kind of see how it goes with that. Your kicker being Ernesto Lacayo. Taking a look at the right side here for your home team. TJ Edwards is your quarterback, and we have a running back. Now, we've had one in the past, but this one, a little more credence. It's Jimmy Smith. He has been with Tulsa on and off for the last couple of years, so adding him back, that might show that they are more committed to the running game in this game. We'll see how it kind of goes to that, but shocking to see he is signed back on there. Clifton McDowell, though, has been released as the quarterback and kind of special teams guy, so we'll see how that goes. Wide receivers, Jermaine Smith, Larry Harrington, Spencer Tiers, Mike Kerrigan, and Cassian Foreman. Your top three are most likely going to be your starters, but don't sleep on Foreman or Kerrigan, as they have caught passes and run the ball and done all that kind of stuff too. So we'll see if they carry all five. We'll see where Jimmy Smith slots into all of that kind of stuff and how that offense kind of goes from there. Offensive line includes Landon Burton, Terrence McClain, Brandon Baldwin, and Justin Redd. So we'll see how that goes. They kind of retooled the offensive line for a smidge, but if the top three guys are your starters, Redd will slot in there as your backup. To the defensive line, Nusi Milani, John McMullen, Devin Brant Epps traded over from the Orlando Pirates, CJ Wright, and Joshua Ellison, the former Northern Arizona Wrangler. So adding a little bit more to that defensive line depth and just kind of a retooling on that line as well. We'll see how it goes, who suits up and who starts, but it's mainly probably going to be Milani and McMullen. We'll see if those final three, if Wright gets the start, or if we go with Brant Epps, or if we go with Ellison. We'll see how it goes. Linebackers, Marquez Bembry, and he could go to the defensive line because he's proven he can play in that position before, which means you should see Trey Harvey move down into that secondary or into that linebacker spot as he's done in previous years. We'll see how it goes. Your secondary, Tariq Bracy, Sedarius Doss, Malik Saunier, Mark Shepard, Frederick Millay, Trey Harvey, and Alfonso Taylor. Now, here's the caveat to this one as well. Alfonso Taylor is listed as a defensive back, but he has played wide receiver, I believe, with Tucson, and I think he was with Arizona at one point, maybe even in like the offseason or something. But for the former Arizona State player, it makes sense to have him in the desert. We'll see if he actually plays because he was playing wide receiver. So does he play defensive back? Does he play wide receiver? Does he, go in between? I'm not sure. We'll have to see how that goes. Your kicker for Tulsa is Bailey Hale. And there's your 25-man roster for your Tulsa Oilers. That was your 25-man roster for your San Diego Strike Force. With that, we need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction. We got one preview to go after this. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. We're going over 88.5. I think both these offenses are going to light it up. If there's any indication, look no further than the games that San Diego has played where they have put up a bunch of points. Look no further than the games that Tulsa has played where they've put up a bunch of points. The defenses are a little lackluster when it comes to that, especially when you see what Tulsa has kind of lost with Dylan Petway and kind of, I wouldn't say the anchor on the defense. I'd put that more towards like Trey Harvey. But to put Trey Harvey back in that linebacker spot, could it be an upgrade? Potentially, seeing as he's been in that position way longer than Dylan Petway has, but at the same time, you do lose a little bit in that secondary, which is the reason why they've probably brought in Alfonso Taylor. We'll see how it kind of goes. We do know that Nate Davis will sling the ball around. We do know that they will run the ball a little bit, and we do know what San Diego is capable of doing. Likewise, we do know what Tulsa is capable of doing. I am curious to see how Jimmy Smith works into this offense, because he was with Tulsa last year, and they still kind of threw the ball a little bit last year too, but they did run the ball quite a bit last year as well, but they're not throwing the ball. They're throwing the ball a lot more this season than what they did last season. Case in point, look at what Jermaine Smith has done. Look at what Spencer Tiers has done. Look at even what Larry Harrington and what, game action he's been able to do. Like, they're throwing the ball quite a bit. And I've mentioned this multiple times. TJ Edwards' injury and stuff is pretty much non-existent at this point, but the lack of a running game does leave a little bit to be desired here, to the fact where I think San Diego might be running the ball more than Tulsa, which is a statement I did not think we would ever hear, since you've got a dual threat quarterback. So I like both offenses in this. I do think the defenses can show out if they have to. I will be excited to see how Royce C., who is one of my favorite defensive players in the league, I want to see how he does trying to corral TJ Edwards, because for all intents and purposes, the stops that they made, that San Diego made against Quad City, pretty much like got third and fourth downs and then like missed field goals, but missed field goals or just field goals. But San Diego was letting Quad City throw all over. I kind of see that same scenario here where Neal can run. They were running the ball a little bit, but they were throwing. And if you are able to exploit that defense, you can put up some points if you are Tulsa. Now, It wasn't really a thing last week against Tucson where they only scored 25, and one of those was a scoop and score. So the defense looked really good for San Diego. I am torn on who I want for this because I can see both cases. I truly can. This week is some tough picks. I'm going to go with Tulsa, though. My prediction for this one, 49-45 in favor of the Oilers. I've said this on plenty of shows. I think the Oilers are back against the wall. You cannot go 1-4. Because if you are 1-4 at this point, you already have whoever wins between Green Bay and Fishers going to 6-1. You are behind the 8 ball. You might as well just kiss that 1 seed goodbye. It doesn't mean you're out of the playoff race. But if Quad City wins, they go to 3-4. If Jacksonville wins, they're 4-1, and suddenly you're sitting here at 1-4, Iowa 0-6. You're on the outside looking in, and what has been, to the most part right now, a 6-team race might dwindle itself down a little bit. You cannot go 1-4. So this is like a caged animal, cornered animal, whatever. You have to come out and you have to perform. Will they? That's the question. I don't have that answer, unfortunately. San Diego, they can easily win this game too. You've seen what Fishers has been able to do. You've seen what Orlando's been able to do. Even Arizona. They've put up points against this defense. They've taken Tulsa to overtime, did Orlando. We've seen how these games have gone for Tulsa where they're just on the bad end of an unlucky break. Can San Diego do that again? I'm not sure. But we do know what San Diego's going to do. They're going to throw the ball. They've got a good plethora of wide receivers. It's up to that defense and it's up to that secondary of Tulsa to stop that. Can that defensive line that's been a little retooled get a pass rush on Nate Davis? No one's really been able to do it so far this season. Can this be the defense that does it? Remains to be seen. So, over 88.5 for this one in a 49-45 victory. I think Tulsa just makes the play. The luck finally bounces their way, and they are able to pull out this victory. Not shocked whatsoever if San Diego wins it and they go to 5-1. And then you're left scratching your head going, is it panic button time for Tulsa? We'll see. Anyway, that's where we have it. We got to go take a look at our final preview. We're up against the wall because the games are starting to kick off as I'm doing this. So I do apologize for the lack of time management in the last couple of weeks. But preview number 5, let's go do it. All right, final preview on the docket. We got our nightcap of the evening, a 9 p.m. Eastern time kickoff between the 1-3 San Antonio Gunslingers and the 2-3 Tucson Sugar Skulls. This game is going to be on overnight. I don't know what to make of this game. Both these teams are very middling. I kind of figured they'd be here at this point, but this is going to be one of those litmus test games. This is an opportunity for Tucson to get back to 500 and pretty much solidify themselves as the 4th best team in the West. This is an opportunity for San Antonio. If they win this game, they go to 2-3. They drop Tucson, the Sugar Skulls, they drop them down to 2-4. And they move up into that 4th spot. So there is some jockeying going on here. And again, regardless of what happens with New Mexico, if they pull out the upset or something, then things kind of get a little convoluted. But in this one, you could see a challenge for that 4th seed. So if San Antonio wins, I believe they move into there. Debating on what happens with New Mexico or what have you. But Tucson, if they lose this game, we'll see. It's a litmus test because I think San Antonio might be a little bit better. Might be a little bit on the up and up in the sense. Tucson's a little in flux right now. I guess both these teams are if you really want to get down to brass tacks, but regardless. Let's take a look at our season leaders on the left side here. Our leading passers for both sides, I don't know if either of them are going to start. Joaquin Collazo, 36 of 64, 398 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. Just kind of goes to show you that in the last couple of weeks, he's still the leading passer. Fred Payton should probably usurp him here in a minute, but at the same time, I don't know, man. It's crazy to think of how he's been the starter for the last game or two, and Collazo's still the leading passer. So, and then Draylon Ellis for Tucson, 32 of 66, 349 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Casey Otto no longer with the team. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. So they've brought in a different player. Again, spoiler alert, we already know who that is, but still. Leading passer there because the other guy hasn't taken a snap for Tucson yet. Leading rushers, KJ Smith, 22 attempts, 90 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. And Brandon Mackey, who is on short-term injured reserve, he's still your leading rusher, even though he's hurt. So It's crazy, man. 27 attempts, 119 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. Both these teams are just, yeah. Deion Cook, your leading receiver, 17 catches, 261 yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. And Javian Lofton at 9 catches, 146 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns on that end. So, again, I've mentioned it multiple times. Deion Cook is very, very good right now. He's kind of breaking out. We'll see how it kind of goes. Our injury report. Suddenly, San Antonio has a lot of injuries. Now, crazy thing about like Glenn Gibbons and Marcus Floyd being over at Jacksonville, that was a glitch in the matrix. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. But in the last couple of weeks, you've got 4 guys on short-term injured reserve. And this week, you're going to go without Austin Upshaw and Christoph Page, who are a very good wide receiver, starting caliber wide receiver, mainstay from the last couple of years, and Christoph Page, another mainstay from the last couple of years, but on the other side of the ball in the secondary. For Tucson, kind of the same. Jerron Waters, Isaac Anderson, and Ahmad Lyons all added to short-term injured reserve. We got some injuries here in this game. So it's crazy to think how this is going to go. So we'll have to take a look at that 25-man roster here in a minute. Game odds presented by DraftKings. We've got -1.5 for the Sugar Skulls at home as the favorite, and +1.5 for the Gunslingers on the road. We have an over-under of 78.5. So Vegas thinking not a lot of points being scored in this one. -105 and -115 to San Antonio and Tucson, respectively, when it comes to the money line. So no plus odds on any of that stuff unless you want the -1.5 for the Sugar Skulls at home. That's +100. So you do get more of a bang for your buck if you want them. Let's do it. We are at the Tucson Convention Center with the Tucson Arena in Tucson, Arizona, where the Tucson Sugar Skulls play at 9 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. It's on overnight. We know it. You know it. Go get the subscription or don't. Our series head-to-head, though, it favors the San Antonio Gunslingers with their last meeting. Taking the victory, though, was Tucson. But their last meeting being all the way back in Week 16 of last year. Tucson blowing them out, 58-28, a 30-point victory. So Vegas is thinking this is going to be a close game. I'm thinking that this is going to be a close game, but we got to go take a look at the players that could potentially make this a close game. Let's go take a look at our 25-man roster. We're going to take a look at our bet and our prediction after that, kind of dive a little bit deeper into it, and then we'll wrap everything up. We'll get out of here. All right, 25-man rosters on the screen here as we take a look at both sides, but we start with the away side first for San Antonio. Fred Payton and Joaquin Collazo are going to be your quarterbacks, with Fred Payton being your starter more likely than not, and Joaquin Collazo being the backup. Your running backs, I'm not sure who's going to start, because Shen Butler Lawson was the starter in the last game, and I don't think KJ Smith suited up at all. So if both these guys suit up, I am curious to see who does get the start in this one. But they could be doing kind of your one running back per game. I'm not sure. So we'll see who gets the start there, but KJ Smith, Shen Butler are your running backs. Wide receivers, Deion Cook, Glenn Gibbons, which has been kind of weird. He's on the roster now. Deon McShane, Derrick Rose, and Josh Hardman to round it out. So we'll see if Gibbons actually gets into a game. I don't believe he's been in a game at all this entire season, but picking up the slack, Deion Cook, Deon McShane, Derrick Rose, they've all played pretty well in the last couple of games. Offensive line for the Gunslingers, David Connor, Kobe Williams, CJ Morrell, Dejon Carroll, and Malik Williams. I think Williams just got signed this past week, so some added depth to that offensive line. We'll see how it kind of goes with that. But Connor, Williams, and Carroll are most likely going to be your starters, with Morrell and Williams being the backup, barring anything else. Defensive line includes Conroy Cunningham, Nick Evans, Daniel Williams, and Terry Beckner. I think it's going to be Cunningham, Evans, and Beckner being your starters. We'll see, but Williams has gotten into games too. We'll just kind of go from there. Linebacker being Kendrick Gant. No backup for him, so he's got to be the guy unless someone else takes his place. In the secondary, various Rivers, Marcus Floyd, J.J. Dallas, Larry Brooks, and Jalen Jimerson. With Christoph Page's injury, I'm not worried, but I'm wondering if Marcus Floyd does actually play. Same thing with Glenn Gibbons. They've been on and off the short-term injured reserve, apparently over to Jacksonville and back with a glitch in the matrix. I'm not sure, but with 5 guys right there, 4 of them have to suit up and play. We'll see how it goes. Tyler Huddle is your kicker. Let's move over to the Tucson side of things. For the Sugar Skulls, Draylon Ellis is your quarterback, along with Taslim or Taz Wilson. Excuse me, I butchered your name, man. I do apologize. We'll see if Wilson gets the start. If Taz Wilson gets the start over Draylon Ellis, the veteran, he's been in the league before. He's been all around different leagues, different teams, anything like that, so he knows the ins and outs. Let's see if it's more of the same here. Teron Keith and Tavian Thomas are your running backs. think Thomas is going to start. We'll see with Teron Keith coming off a short-term injured reserve if he has more to give, or if we do more of a thunder and lightning kind of thing with Brandon Mackey being out. Remains to be seen, but we'll see. Wide receivers include Brian Smith, Tamari and Terry, Demisio Ewing, Journey Sloan, and Javian Lofton. So Tucson kind of getting back more to that full strength at that wide receiver room, with Terry coming off a short-term injured reserve this week, Sloan coming off last week. So again, more firepower to that. Just kind of remains on that quarterback to how it goes. Offensive line includes Evan Greathouse, Q Baker, Nashawn Jackson, and Michael Todd Jr. It's kind of rotated starters. I think the last game it was Greathouse, Baker, and Todd Jr. I'm not entirely sure, but I know Jackson has played or suited up at least. I know Greathouse has kind of been the odd man out every once in a while, so we'll see how it kind of goes on that offensive line. To the defensive line, Rafiq Abdul-Wahid, Tyquez Legs, Deshaun Holt, and Diamond Brooks. Yeah, more or less the same here. If it's going to be Abdul-Wahid, Legs, and Brooks, with Holt being the odd man out on the starting defensive line, but he might suit up, he might not. Linebackers include Deshaun Davis and Michael Edwards. Edwards has a number. In the last couple of previews, he hasn't. So now that he does, I wonder if he's going to suit up and play, or if Deshaun Davis gets the start when it comes to that linebacking core. Into the secondary finally here, Breon Murray, Aaron Jackson coming off of short-term injured reserve, Malik Fleming, Chucky Williams, we'll talk about that in a sec, and Zachariah Twardowski to round it out. Chucky Williams, former Massachusetts Pirate, a veteran of the game. He has been around a long time. I do not believe he's played in the last couple of seasons. If he has, it's been in a league I do not know about. But what I do know about is he is on this team right now. So some added veteran firepower when you bring back Tamari and Terry, when you bring in Chucky Williams, when you bring in Taz Wilson. So a lot of veteran mentorship for this team. Could that be what the doctor ordered? We got to go find out. But that was your 25-man roster for Tucson. That was your 25-man roster for your San Antonio Gunslingers. We need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction, dive a little bit deeper into this one, and then we'll wrap up and get out of here. Right, bet and prediction time for this one. I don't know. I don't know. This was a toss-up even in the offseason when I was kind of just picking games by flipping a coin or going, hey, I think this team's going to win, I think that team's going to win. I'm just going to go with San Antonio money line. I know that Tucson has a lot of players coming in, a lot of veteran leadership, which we just touched on, but at the same time, can it all gel? San Antonio has made some minor changes as well, too. Both teams are really hurt. I think what I saw more from San Antonio last week looks a little bit better than what Tucson has shown me in the last couple of weeks. Now, what that entails, not much of anything, man. You know, San Antonio's got a win. Tucson's got a couple of wins. I don't know. I just, like I said, to me, I'm leaning more towards Dion Cook. I'm leaning more towards that offense. Not to say that Tucson's offense hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been good, I'll tell you that much. But I like San Antonio just a little bit more in this one. And whether, you know, there's the injuries to Upshaw, there's the injuries to Christoph Page, so that does take a hit to San Antonio. But you wonder what kind of offense we're going to see with Tucson. Does Taz Wilson take the start? How does he gel with these wide receivers? How does he gel in the offense? He's got a week to prepare, something like that. Or do they turn the keys back over to Draylon Ellis? I think San Antonio is a little bit more solidified. I think Fred Payton is going to get the start, barring anything. Joaquin Collazo will be the backup, whatever the case could be. The running game leaves a little bit to be desired. I'm not sure who's going to start, but we kind of know who the wide receivers are going to be for San Antonio. Especially if you're able to get Glenn Gibbons and Marcus Floyd in there. If they've been hurt, but they've been practicing, or whatever the case could be, that is some added firepower to the San Antonio side as well. Tucson's defense looks all right. You know, they did get the scoop and score against San Diego. They, you know, barring the late game issues that San Diego just put up some points on them last week, the defense was not bad. Tucson's defense hasn't been too bad. You know, like I said, they haven't been world beaters or anything like that, but they haven't been too bad. San Antonio's defense leaves a little bit to be desired as well. So, again, this is a litmus test on how it's going to go of who's going to get that fourth spot. I'm not sure. Whoever it is, they're probably going to wear a hat. I'll tell you that much. But that doesn't rule out Northern Arizona because their mascot wears a hat too. But no, I don't know. This is such a coin flip to me because on the one hand I can be like, yeah, San Antonio's passing game is going to torch this defense. I don't see that happening. A lot of people are going with the under on this one, and I'm kind of inclined to do that. My prediction for this one, 38 to 35 in favor of San Antonio. So you're hitting 73 points, which is under that 78.5. So yeah, I'm right there on it with that under 78.5. I think both these offenses leave a little bit to be desired. I think that there are some mental miscues. There's going to be some overthrows. There's going to be some incompletions. There's going to be some runs for no gains, and we'll see how they go. I do know both teams have decent kickers, and that could play into this game when it comes to special teams of Kevin Macias comes out for a field goal, Tyler Huddle comes out for a field goal. Can they hit deuces? Are they good enough to hit some rouges? We'll see how that all kind of pertains to it, because some of these drives could stall out, but you still get points when it comes to field goals, potential deuces, whatever the case could be. Like I said, I just don't know enough about these teams yet, which is crazy to think that we're into week 8 and there's been so much roster turnover or players getting hurt and coming back or whatever the case could be, where it's like, are these two teams firing at their best? Because if they are, it's just not good enough. I'm going to take San Antonio in this one, but again, not shocked whatsoever. There's a reason why Tucson is favored in this one. They've got the home field advantage. They've got probably more veteran firepower with probably a more veteran coaching staff. I get that. But I'm going to throw my wagon behind San Antonio. I think that they just look a little bit better right now. And I know the eye test isn't everything, but what I've seen on their offense looks a little bit better than what Tucson's offense looks like. And I know those offenses don't play each other, but I think San Antonio's offense can score a little bit more on Tucson's defense. Maybe vice versa. Maybe I'm putting too much credit into San Antonio's defense, but we'll see. Because I just don't trust Tucson's offense yet, if I will all season. Depends on how much roster turnover we will still see. But getting those wide receivers back for the Sugar Skulls with Tamari and Terry and Journey Sloan, that could help out. That could really, really help out. But until then, I've got my wagon hitched to San Antonio, minus 105 on the money line, 38 to 35 in favor of the Gunslingers. Let's wrap up and get out of here. And that is it for our preview for all 5 games on Saturday. I know this is long. I know I'm not getting this out until like roughly the end of the first quarter or even the first half of the Fishers and Green Bay game, so I do sincerely apologize, guys. I thought I had a lot more time, and it takes a lot of time to edit this stuff, man. A lot of time to record and edit. It's like a whole hour to record this, and then a whole another hour or two just to edit it, man. So time management has definitely got to be something that I get better at. I don't have any excuses. The morning show that I do with Shady Sports runs right into this, and it's just a whole entire day of indoor football. So maybe it's something where I have to try and do different things, or try and record segments throughout the week or something and then put them all together. I'm not sure, but this is the second week in a row I feel like I've let people down by putting this out late, and I've let myself down because I told myself I wouldn't get to this point, and here I am 2 or 3 weeks in a row of doing that. So it just sucks. But anyway, yeah, I apologize, guys. This should have been out a lot sooner. Should have been able to watch the previews before the games even start. So I feel it's just a huge bummer. I know I wouldn't like that personally. If someone puts something out in the middle of the game, I get that. So you guys have right to be mad or upset. I'm not going to hold it against you or anything like that. But yeah, I'll plug in. If you guys want to like, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever you guys want to do, we'll go from there. But until then, I'll catch you guys in the next videos. We got the preview for Arizona and Vegas to do, and then we've got the recaps and everything to go along with that. So catch you guys in that. Until then, let's go watch some indoor football. See ya.